Hi everybody, welcome back to our mid-season AMA special. This is week 2 of the AMA.
How long will it last?
Until we run out of questions.
Well, and also absolute maximum 4.
Oh yeah, maximum 4.
Then we're scheduled to come back to rooms again.
We're not gonna push back the season to answer more AMA questions. That would be wild. But welcome to another episode of Ask Us Anything. It's really an AUA, but that's fine. I should, just to be clear, same as last week, we'll be just giving first letters of people's names who have sent in a question, and we'll answer the question as best we can, and it'll probably take us much longer than it should, because that's what we're like as people.
I anticipate, because at some point we're going to run out of ones that were emailed to us, which is a good solid, you have to put in effort to send an email.
Yes.
And we're going to move on to ones that were at the Discord.
They might be faster, do you think?
Oh, I wasn't going to say faster. I was going to say wackier.
They might be a bit wackier, but we'll find out. I don't know how many. I haven't paid much attention as of the moment of this intro as to how many emailed questions there are. I'm just going through the list, but I think we'll probably. We'll finish the emails in this episode.
Definitely,
I think definitely. I think. All right. There'll be a brief pause, not for you, just for us, and then I'll be back with the first of these questions. Okay, this one is actually mostly a question for me, Danny. And by mostly, I mean...
So you're saying it is an AMA?
This one's an AMA.
Gotcha.
This is from M, who asks, Bill, have you ever done any theatrical training or voice acting? Or do all your accents and characters just come naturally? Do you use these voices in your everyday life, or do you save them especially for the podcast? Okay.
Oh, God, I'm going to need to clean this microphone after tonight.
I haven't really done theatrical training, but we've done a bit of theatre, both of us.
I mean, I think that's
true.
a
I did high school
lie.
drama. I did legitimate
You've been doing theatre and drama, quote unquote, training for years.
That's true. The first theatrical stuff I did was was technically my first job. My first ever job in life was as a professional opera singer, which is very funny. Back when I was how old would I have been?
I don't know. I didn't know you.
Year 7?
Okay.
So what,
11 or 12?
11 or 12?
Yeah.
I was in the children's chorus for Opera Australia for 3 seasons, which was great fun. It was really nice. So I did that.
Made real money out of it.
I did make some money, but I spent it all on...
Trip to Japan,
a trip,
right?
Yeah.
That's pretty worthwhile.
Yeah, which is pretty good. It was a lot of fun. And then, I did drama in high school. That's the extent of my training.
Got full marks in drama in high school, year 12.
But no, and then after that we did I also did as a kid some community theatre, and then after school, a few years out of school, I should get back into theatre and did community theatre.
5 years after we finished school, I just went, it's a waste that you're not doing anything. Looked up local stuff, and there was a local production auditioning for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Which was fun.
And I went, you should do that. Oh, you should do that.
And then eventually...
we both got into it.
You got into it as well. And then, was it the next show or the one after that you actually properly auditioned for as well?
Next one.
Which was great. And then you've been doing them since then as well.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of shows like that. So that's the theatre sort of stuff we've done. None of it was training to do stupid voices. You can tell I haven't got training to do accents because they're all bad. But I will say, yes, I do use the voices constantly in my everyday life.
Boy,
much to Danny's annoyance.
Some of them are fine, but it's just your character. Some of the characters are, hey, here's a douchebag, and turns out that his douchebag voice is real douchebaggy.
Yep,
it's really annoying.
Yep. That's how Danny describes my normal voice. I will also say the greatest excuse to use voices day to day is tabletop role-playing games. So when I run a game or play in a game, it's always fun to do a stupid voice. Stupid voices are just fun to do. Everybody should be doing stupid voices all the time. That's part of the joy of life. Do a stupid voice today. I don't think I save anything for the podcast. I think every stupid voice I've done on the podcast, I've done in real life.
Yeah, I believe that. I'm
an annoying person to talk to. There's also a comment for you, Danny.
Oh.
Not a question.
Okay.
But it's a
I'll
positive
take it under
comment.
advisement.
Oceananigans is a great name.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know. As long as everyone else knows.
People think I'm silly for silly voices, but then you're coming in here with Oceananigans and E.T. the Escaping Terrascape Drill. And it's quite clear that we work well together.
I think that when I started coming out with those things, a lot of people would have gone, "Oh, I get it now."
Oh, I see. She's also an idiot. Wonderful. Well, thank you for the question, Em. My stupid voices follow me around wherever I go, in my head and coming out of my mouth. All right. Next question. The next question is from P, and this is a personal question.
Okay.
P for personal.
Mm-hmm.
Just asking us how we met.
Oh.
Just asking us how we met.
Yeah.
Also, some fun comments on the fact that they enjoy that you call me Billy and everyone else calls me Bill, which they also do with their partner. That's. They also say that we should keep singing, but we do. If you're on the Patreon,
You
that's
say
where all
we,
the singing
but
is. Well, yeah. How did we meet, Danny? How did we meet?
I mean, I remember exactly how we met.
True.
So we were in year 10. So
Yes, we've been together since we were
15/16.
16 years old.
Like a week before your 16th
Yeah,
birthday.
right before my 15th, my 16th birthday.
So we met about a year before that.
Yeah, we'd been friends for a little while before that.
It was a friend's birthday party. It was at the
Yes,
beach.
It was at the beach.
Except other people had gone off into the water, but I was very sun aware. And swimming is more annoying than some other hobbies. Sand sucks. So instead,
Danny was Anakin Skywalkering on the side of the beach.
I stayed on the beach. I probably, knowing myself at the time, may have had a towel on my head, and draped over my arms for extra sun protection. Fully clothed, fully covered up. And I just got a notebook out and was writing because that was all I did at the time. Everything I did was curl up in a corner and write fan fiction.
Yep, and then I came and
You were there
chatted.
as well. You also weren't swimming.
Yeah, I can't remember why.
No, I don't know. And for whatever reason,
I don't hate swimming. I don't hate.
this ghoul with a book you decided to approach and ask what I was doing.
Yeah, and so we chatted.
Oh, you're skipping over my response to your question.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What was your response to my
My
question?
response would have been something along the lines of, I'm writing gay erotic fan fiction. How about you?
Really? You reckon?
100%.
You reckon that's what you would have said?
You think that I'm projecting? I know I said something along those lines.
Oh, well.
And for whatever reason,
Despite
you
your attempt,
sat down.
Despite your attempt at sabotage, it's fun.
A little bit. And then apparently you liked me.
Yeah.
And then didn't tell me for a year.
This was the thing. So we got to know each other as teenagers in an era where you could just you could use MSN Messenger. That was how you talk to people.
Oh yeah.
And that was how we spoke for most of the first year that we knew each other. Was getting home from school and then being like, which of my friends is on MSN Messenger? And then just sending random messages.
You were only ever online for about half an hour. I would
Yeah.
be online for 6 hours at a time, and
I had brothers.
you had
I
siblings
had
and a family computer.
I had a family, unlike you. But yeah, I don't know. And then we started dating, and then we stayed together forever, which was easy to do.
Yeah, people really make it seem hard.
But yeah, so that's how we met. As children through a friend.
Beach Grinches.
As beach Grinches through a friend. There you are. That's the answer to that lovely emailed AMA question.
Nice.
Thank you again, P. Oh, and the other side of that, just before I move on,
Ooh.
is you calling me Billy is not necessarily, it's not like, oh, there's a certain level of endearment that Danny has towards me that other people don't.
Oh, no, that's
It's
just what you were called as a
because
child.
I went by Billy up until I was probably 18 years
Yeah.
old.
Distinctly.
And so everybody who knows me from that period of my life calls me Billy.
I was thinking about that today. I was walking the dog and I passed a family that had a child, and something about just the way the child was presenting themselves looked like they were the sort of kid who would have an unusual name. And I just pictured the conversation.
So you just saw a kid and you thought, that kid's got a weird name.
I cannot quite express to you.
He had a
what it
little
was.
hat, it had a propeller on it. He was holding a big, big lollipop.
Okay.
And you thought, that kid's name is
Here's
Billy.
the thing. There was every chance. And for some reason, I thought, you might have an unusual name. And then I went through a conversation in my head thinking of children with unusual names that I know about. And then I think, are those names that their parents gave them or that they gave themselves when they had the opportunity to say what they
okay.
wanted to go by? And then I thought about that. I thought for you and Billy, and I just went, so who called you that? Did your parents call you that or did you call you that?
I'm assuming it was
there's
my
a
parents.
difference.
I'm pretty sure my parents have
I
always called
agree.
me Billy.
But then I thought about that for me. because
Oh,
my
yes,
name
because
is
your family doesn't really
Danielle.
call you Danny.
My name is Danielle. My family does not call me Danny. So who gave me my name? My friends gave me my name. I thought that was interesting.
Fun. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have any friends. No, I had plenty of friends. All right, there you go. That's just the other element of that question that we hadn't addressed. All right, our next email is a whole set of questions from another M. I think we can go through an order. Not rapid fire, but we'll go through an order and answer them as we go.
Understood. Yeah. Slow fire. Slow, methodical, painful fire.
Danny,
Mhm.
do you think escape rooms are inherently scary?
Ooh. Okay, you know what? In my notebook, I actually do have a dot point 'cause we do some seminars and talks and presentations and things.
Sure.
And I do actually have a note in there that says escape rooms are scary.
Really?
Yes.
In what way?
Intimidating when you don't know what you're in for.
That's fair. They're
Like-
definitely not inherently like horror-y.
No,
Because I think sometimes when people from outside of escape rooms look at escape rooms, they think I'm locked in a room. Oh no, who would lock me in a room? But I think that's sort of, I mean, half the time you're not locked in a room. Obviously, you're not physically locked in a room much
but
anymore.
the being trapped element is something that has gone, that's diverged
yes,
a little
sometimes
bit. So not
like
every
you've
room
got a
feels
thing
like
to do.
that.
You've got a job. This is fun. Like in terms of theming, a lot of escape rooms are fundamentally not scary. They're whimsical. They're silly. They're fun.
That's it.
They're
Is there
deliberately not
Is
scary.
there an underlying threat to all escape rooms? Almost certainly, yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's what a
usually
time limit
you need a
does.
time limit, yeah. They can be scary from like I'm nervous to go and do this. But I don't think as a medium, they are inherently scary.
I don't
Because
thi-
there's
it-
plenty of not
yeah.
scary ones.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, if you want to say it's inherently scary, that's going to come down to person by person rather than an actual objective
Yes.
truth.
But I will say there's definitely a tendency towards scariness in a lot of them because the premise of being trapped in a room can lend to, I wonder who trapped you. Maybe it was some scary guy. All right, let's make it the scary.
Definitely.
So that
why
you get a
are
lot of and
like, why are you locked in a place, and why is there an impetus to get out in an hour?
Mm.
Those two things are
They
the
can
most
lead to scary
natural
things.
thing for people to come up with creatively. Is
there also
something
seems to
frightening.
be a big overlap. In fact, we just were recently at Strange World escape rooms in Sydney, and we're talking with the creators there, and also saw this same overlap. That there are people who are in sort of the haunted house or the haunt space that moved into
that
escape
can
rooms
be very true.
because they were already people who were like, I'm making immersive experiences with interesting sets that transport you to a location in an immersive fashion, and then you have to go through and do stuff. Why don't I just add some puzzles? Now it's an escape room. And I think that's not exactly the transition, but I think you get a lot of that. So some people are coming from a horror-y background into escape rooms, and they keep that theming because that's what they like. That's what they think is a good emotion for that kind of a space, and so they keep it up.
Yeah, my thesis for bringing up that escape rooms are inherently scary is why it's a good idea for businesses to lean on cliche settings sometimes.
So people feel comfortable.
Exactly, like you've got your Sherlock Holmeses, your Egyptian tombs and things. That means even if you do find it a nerve-wracking experience, there is something familiar that you can lean on.
Yeah, you know what's expected in the content.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. What do you think it is that keeps escape rooms in business? More explicitly here, they're going to talk about thinking it's like that feeling of like magic and wonder that you get from going into an escape room. In terms of like what's the draw of escape rooms, why the industry is still going.
Some people certainly have that, but to me, it is more like it is so much the feeling of physically doing something. You get to feel like an actual moving, walking, solving, fixing things hero for a
there's
little
an
bit.
agency that you get in escape rooms that is quite enjoyable. Like it's the same reason that weirdly, I think it's kind of like a similar reason to why people who hate doing people who hate washing a car
We'll play
will
Power
still
Wash
play
Simulator.
Power Wash Simulator because there's like an easy controlled reward center of like, you've done the thing and you've achieved a thing, and we set you up and we gave you the rules, and then you solved those rules and you achieved something. And that feeling of being able to go and actually do is hard to get. And especially in a physical space where you really feel, hey, I'm actually doing it, is great.
Yeah, there are a few times where someone can feel like they're a little bit of an action star or things, like they can go around and shoot guns and climb stuff and crawl around and succeed in things. And I think something about the physicality I don't is making me wonder. Like, everything that I'm saying here is going, yeah, physical rooms are great. What are we doing? Because we don't have any of this.
No, but we have the other thing, which is like human brains are wired, even people who don't think they are, to enjoy solving puzzles.
Definitely.
Because we enjoy solving problems. There's like a dopamine hit of like, I've done a thing, I've been presented, I've solved it, and I got it right. Yes, I did it. And feeding that in is just a really enjoyable experience of earning success. I think magic and wonder helps, but I think there's a very different world between like experience in immersive space, and which you can get in other contexts that are not just escape rooms.
That's
and
true.
doing things in an immersive space to solve problems, which is kind
Yes.
of what an escape room is. And I think magic and wonder is helpful, but I think fundamentally it's that it's enjoyable to do a thing and solve a puzzle and be rewarded for it in a space.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
All right. Would you consider, this isn't the next question, by the
Mhm.
way. I'm not just suddenly asking you a question. This is also from M. Would you consider hosting a written escape room contest?
Oh,
To which my answer is no.
no.
I don't like competitive things. I don't like judging things against other things. You know, when you're like scrolling around the internet and then they're like, here's the 2025 massage championships of the best masseuses. And you're like, what are you doing? Just do like massages are just enjoyable. Oh, here's the world yoga competition. It's yoga. Just stretch. You don't need to beat people. You don't have to be better than other people all the time. You can just enjoy a thing. And I think I wouldn't want to be part of the one saying, hey, this person's better than you at this thing. Because I think people should be celebrated for doing the thing and enjoying it.
That's more than fair. This is a really difficult thing to do, and it is coming up with a finished piece of writing, which is an accomplishment that most writers never even see.
And so to take that and be
It's
like,
true.
nice work, you fourth place writer. Here are the 3 people who are better at this than you are. I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
Even if it were to happen, coming up with criteria to judge them by would be incredibly difficult. Like, even then, we're choosing right now between 3 old rooms to run for a special event. And I'm just looking at the 3 rooms that we're choosing between going, wow, these all just feel so different. They all focus on such different things.
Yeah.
One's extra puzzly, one's atmospheric, and one is just like fun and adventure-y. And just going, I would have no way if those were sort of my 3 different. If people were giving me scripts to judge, and I had to.
I'm judging your scripts.
Exactly, and I had to judge between those. The different focus is going to make it impossible.
And I think, like, I don't know. I think sometimes in art, like especially in artistic things or creative things, sometimes competition can take away from, like, can because it's like, instead of doing an idea that is interesting and original, you go, well, I know this one performs well and is looked at well, so why don't I do the thing that is gonna score me better? Like, you don't want to be thinking about those sort of things. You want to just be making something interesting and fun. I think weirdly in artistic endeavor, you can get rid of creativity by making it competitive.
Interesting.
Because people will know what type of thing does well, and then they will do that thing, as opposed to trying something new and weird. Because, like, well, now you have no idea whether that would do well in a competition. So either it's not serious, in which case don't worry about it, or it is serious, in which case people are going to make bad art to try and win a prize. That's my thought. So no, I'm not super interested in doing any kind of competitive contest for written escape room stuff.
Some people do like to go into just escape rooms as a whole competitively, but we've never been like that. And especially from knowing creators and owners of escape rooms, one of the best things about the industry is that they're not at each other's throats, trying to fight each other for customers and things like that. So I do think that we've gotten into a lot more of a, we don't need to chat. We don't need that sort of challenge in this part of life. I'm more competitive than you are in certain other things. Like, I grew up with a lot more competitive sports and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not very competitive in anything.
But even then, like, even when it comes to sporting things, I want people to relax a lot more than they do.
Yeah. All right. Next part of this question, or next question on this set. Will you be publishing your escape rooms as a physical book? Please see previous episode.
Yeah, we talked about that. Would love to. Is hard.
Please see previous episode. Okay, we're getting a bit weird. Do you think rubber grips are necessary for toothbrushes?
Oh.
No.
I have definitely, like, we've used bamboo toothbrushes before,
Yeah, it's
so they
fine.
didn't have anything like that.
You're all right. You'll be fine. Unless it's plastic. Like, there's probably some plasticky things that need a rubber grip or it'll slip out of your hands, but you're probably fine. Don't brush your teeth that hard. You'll be all right. Everyone should be brushing softer anyway.
Yeah, I've used so many cheap toothbrushes that it's never occurred to me that they, yeah, I don't know, just typically one material boring ones.
And the final question, Danny.
No, I've got to think about this one.
No, we
Okay.
don't want to spend time thinking
right.
about toothbrush
No,
handles.
I don't believe it's necessary.
It's not necessary. Maybe you want it.
Maybe for some people, but we've survived fine without them, so it can't be essential for everyone.
Fine. And our final question, which is a more real question for the show.
Okay.
Where do you see your podcast/business going in the next few years?
Oh
I know
boy,
it's a
we've
big
been
question.
asking that since the start. Every year or so, we ask ourselves, "Hey, how are we feeling right now? How are we thinking 5 years?" But one of the best things about what we've done is that I feel like I don't know what we're going to be doing in 5 years. I don't know how much of our focus is still going to be here. I hope that still some, because I haven't seen any reason to stop yet. I don't feel like I'm burning out of this.
Oh, yeah.
Time-wise, sure. Thank you, everyone who's been a guest game master who's like helped me space out my timing a little bit. That's been very much appreciated. But I don't feel creatively like we're burning out, or effort-wise like I'm burning out of this yet. So hopefully in 5 years, still there. But the idea of not knowing exactly where I'm going to be without the worry of, oh God, where am I going to be in case everything collapses in 5 years? I don't have that.
No,
thankfully.
I think we've built up enough of a community that, like, even if we end up like changing projects and doing other stuff, it feels like there's a space for us in the creative world.
Yeah, which is
working with
nice.
other people, moving into game design or other puzzle design. Like, I think for these shows, it's interesting. I feel like we've recently hit a bit of a plateau in terms of listener growth, which I don't mind at all. There's a certain size of audience that I don't really want, right? Like, there's a certain thing when you get big enough, you invite a lot of like, oh, this is now like the negative side of having like a large reach, where there are people out there who know you because they hate you, not because they like you. We're at a certain level where people who know us because they like us. And the people who don't like us don't see us enough to get annoyed and start to want to be like, I gotta get annoyed at this person. I keep seeing this person I don't like, and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, we haven't invited much anger, which is nice.
Which is really lovely. So we've ended up with a very, very positive experience with everybody that is around us. We've talked about this before about like what like success is for the show and for us. And I think for me personally, like my version of success is the manner in which I'm living my life, and all of the stuff that is like, or here are the metrics of growth, or here is money coming in. Those are all like, oh, I need those things to make sure I like can live the way I want to live. But I'm not going to change the way I'm living day to day to go after those things, because they're like secondary, because we're in a place where we're comfortable.
Yeah, I don't anticipate
to,
us ever becoming one of those people who's making $100,000 a month on Patreon.
No.
But I also wouldn't want I wouldn't want to have to do the things that a lot of those people have to do in order to get there.
There's a certain level of like growth where you're like following the algorithms and changing the type of content you make to suit the audiences that could, and I don't want to do that.
And going all in on really pressury advertising.
Yeah, and changing, I mean, already like we could have ads on our shows to make more money, and we don't, because I don't like that. And so I'd rather be the kind of person who doesn't have ads on their show than the kind of person who's making ad revenue on their show for companies that they don't believe in. Like if I had if I was very much controlling of the ads, maybe, but even then, I enjoy not having them.
Definitely,
I enjoy a show from a I don't know, a simplicity of life standpoint. I enjoy a show that is supported specifically by the people who listen to the show, donating to keep that show. Like that is a model that I think is really nice. So I like being able to stick to that, and I prefer doing that than the benefits that I would get from not doing it, because like no, those things are just fueling the capacity to make stuff the way I want to make it and live the way I want to live. So that's sort of the position. It'd be nice to expand out a little bit. We have some ideas for other projects that we might be working on. I mean, there may well be also just other stuff that we're working on at the moment where there's a few things in the air that could happen. And if they do, there'll be big projects that might take a year or 2 years
Yeah.
of something of just doing design work on the side. So I don't really know. We're sort of just vibing it. But yeah, we're not sitting here being like, oh, we're desperately trying to change up the way we do stuff to grow more. There's still plenty of Escape This Podcast to go. It doesn't seem like it's wrapping up any point soon. There's still plenty of Solve This Murder to go. That doesn't feel like it's wrapping up soon.
Definitely. At the start of this year, I said that I definitely wanted to
Do more Solve
push
This Murder.
on
Yeah.
Solve This
And
Murder.
it's been
because I
going really
feel like
well. It's been fun.
The last one
That
was
probably
wonderful
has
fun.
the capacity to grow into new audiences because it has that murder mystery connection that is a very different sort of thing that, we could grow out more. At some point, I keep toying with the idea of like, what if somebody else took over trying to advertise this to places? But I mean, a lot of podcast advertising doesn't work very well anyway. Podcasts are an interesting medium. But yeah, there's things, nothing set enough that I would announce it right now during the AMA. But there's more projects or different projects that could be there. I wouldn't mind a bit more growth. Like, I think if we had a larger audience without being a like categorically larger audience,
Yeah.
just like pushing the boundaries of the small audience we have would be the perfect kind of amount.
Just still smatterings more, not magnitudes more.
Exactly. If we suddenly had, 1 million downloads an episode,
That
I
might get
think life
frightening.
would become a lot more annoying in general. So I wouldn't really want to be there. But if we had an extra 10,000 listens an episode, hey, that's probably pretty good.
That's okay.
That's a similar magnitude of
handle that.
audience, but hey, there's more people listening, more people enjoying it, more people donating.
One thing
That
that
would be
we
nice.
have talked about and have done absolutely nothing to work towards
Yes,
is
yes. Done
trying
nothing, we're all
to-
out of ideas.
trying to make some headway into artsy stuff on the Australia scene a little bit more.
Yeah, that's what I would like to be doing this year. I would like to grow locally in Australia, both with the content that we make normally and also in other like
Yeah, maybe adjust some content to see if there's anything we can do as a small live thing.
yeah, do live shows in Australia, things like that. Something that'd be the goal in the next few years. I'd like to try and focus in on growing a more local community.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. I think.
It would.
All right. Well, thank you so much for these questions, Em. All right, the next question, or next set of questions, is from another M, but because they sent this email, I think after the first one came out, they have explicitly said we can say their name.
Okay, well,
Which
that
I
helps
won't
with
do
so
in
many
general,
M's.
but we have had a few M's in a row. So let's say these are from Mason.
All right, thank you so much.
We have a couple of little questions. Here we go. Actually, they might not be that little.
Okay.
First of all, Danny, what's your favorite type of cheese?
Ooh, okay. Normally, my reflexive instinct would have been to say camembert, but lately we've been eating a lot of bagels, so I have been a cream cheese fiend.
Fair. I don't know what my favorite type. I'm not a favorite type.
I'm licking it off the knife.
I think just like a
It's
cheddar,
so good.
like a normal cheddar cheese goes
you
on everything.
love a
It's
good
very
standard toasted cheese
what you would
sandwich.
get in Australia as just like tasty cheese is what it would be called. That's
Which
I'm
sounds
perfectly
like
happy with
that sounds fake and wiggly. It's not. That's normal cheese.
It's just like a cheddar cheese that I think can't use the name cheddar cheese because it doesn't come from cheddar. I don't mind that. I do like hard cheeses more than soft cheeses, but I'm happy with fancy ones. I'm happy with ones on like a nice spread of different flavored smoky cheese. I like it all.
I'm bad at fancy cheese. The fancier the cheese, the more it tastes like soap to me.
I will say, less and less been having cheese
This
on
is
hand
true.
at home. We're generally vegetarian, but at home have started erring towards having a vegan shop, like a grocery shop, and then still being vegetarian going out in other places, just because it's, I don't know. It's
There
just
are
easy
only
to
so
do.
many foods that I eat.
But yeah, cheese wise, whatever, doesn't don't worry about it. What's it like having made your interests/hobbies into your actual job? I can tell you what it's like. It's like I don't have a job. Some people, I just want to go against what you often hear. So a lot of times you get the advice floating around of if you take your hobby and you turn it into your job, then you're basically not
ruins it
going to, it
for you.
ruins the hobby. You're going to have to treat it like a job. You're not going to enjoy it anymore. And you should keep it as a hobby. That may well be true for very many people.
The people who are trying to like drive themselves to be in a financial position of having a normal job. Like
Exactly.
we know that we are not making as much as we would if we had normal jobs.
Yes.
But that's a
But again, like,
sacrifice
I think-
that we're willing to make for this.
yeah, and I think part of the whole process for this was because I was leaving work to start doing this, I always sort of had the rule of, if I could be like, this might make me more money, but I'm not going to enjoy doing it, but it's a way to make more money. I always thought to myself, I could just go back to work. I could just go back to get a real job. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just do the stuff that's more fun and makes less money. It honestly, yeah, I did not do very well in a kind of full-time employment
And
situation.
I was even worse.
I didn't feel like I could function very well.
No.
And being able to work on our own schedule, on our own projects, to just make things that we think is good and put it out there. Obviously, there are considerations to make sure you're making money from it and how to do that and how to make it sustainable. But in general, it suddenly felt like, this is what humans are meant to be like. This is what it's like to be like a human as opposed to
Gives you a bit of function
like
back.
a part of a society in 20. Like you could be like, this is like I can just like breathe out and be normal.
When I was working
was
a
nice.
normal job, my most recent normal job was a long time ago now. But even though it was not a high stress job in any way, shape, or form, I would come home in the afternoon and just have to sit and stare at the TV. My brain couldn't handle anything more. I couldn't actually enjoy hobbies. So apparently I needed to make the hobbies the job in order to get any function.
And this is different for different. Like some people work well in that sort of environment. Some people really like being able to say like it's from this hour to this hour,
And then I can shut
I can
down.
do this. And look,
We do
We do
have
a lot
our
of work.
brains switched on a lot more. We are always thinking about these
we're
things.
not. Like I will say as well. Like we do a lot of work. But being in control of our schedule and being in control of like the way we do it and making stuff that we feel has value and therefore we want to make it is a really helpful thing when you're living life. It's always really tough to be working in a situation like one of the jobs I had. I was working and I didn't care about the work itself. It was just like it was a way to make money and be using my degree and all that sort of but I didn't really care about the thing that I was doing. And it's really hard to do that every day because you spend every day coming back being like, well, what did I add to the world today? Stuff that I don't want to add to the world. But I made money and it's nice and some people don't mind that. But for me, it felt like I really wanted to be able to do something and be like, I'm proud of this thing that I've made and I've made it. And
We've
I've done it.
talked about this before, that before this show, creating wasn't really something that you
No,
had done.
yeah, it's always something I wanted to be doing. I'm glad now that I am.
Yeah. There are some things that you do have to consider and that I consider. One is, 24 hours a day we could be thinking about things. So knowing when to shut off is incredibly difficult. Knowing what is a part of our hobbies and a part of our just fun life,
Yeah,
what should be content and what shouldn't be content is now an active decision that you have to make.
yes, that is true.
When we play a video game, oh no, should we stream it or something? Should we talk about it? Should we be making notes while we play?
Yeah, and finding those lines can be tough to figure all out. As long as you're focused on...
There can also be some guilt when you decide that the fun thing that you want to do right now isn't one of the content things.
That's true.
And you feel guilty that you should actually be doing one of the other things. And come on, isn't this meant to be fun? Why aren't you doing that thing? You would do this for fun a few years ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so you do have possibly more nagging voices.
Yeah.
In your head than usual. And especially when you've got an audience and you want your audience to be happy, so you're thinking about that a lot.
Yeah, that's true. But overall, it's pretty good.
Oh, I wouldn't want to
pretty nice.
trade it.
Next question is a very specific question to
Ooh.
which I also, I would say, do not have a good answer.
Okay.
What order of Knight Radiant would each of you be?
We took a quiz once.
Oh, I don't know. I don't. So this is the reference to the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, which is a now, semi-complete series of novels.
Complete / half complete.
Exactly.
Do you want to bring up the list of them? See if I can remember.
There's 10 of them, right?
Yes.
I'll just remember 'em right now.
Oh, okay.
There are Wind Runners. There are Else Callers.
Mhm.
There are Truth Watchers. There are
Bondsmith
Light
or whatever.
Weavers.
Yep.
There are Bondsmiths.
Mhm.
there are
Oh god, we're only 5 down.
edge dancers, there are dust bringers, there are stone grumbos.
Stone Grumbos?
Yes, stone grumbos.
No.
Yeah. They're the ones who are all like stone grumbos.
No.
Yeah. Stone wards or something. They're the stone grumbos.
I don't know. That just sounds like
There are sky breakers,
Yeah.
and there's a 10th one. It's hard to talk about without giving spoilers for a series of books. And also, I'll talk about the question in general. I was never this kind of a person who's like, which of these am I? But like for us in our
I
youth, the big
definitely
thing was
was.
like Harry Potter. Everybody did the
Yeah,
which
what
house
are
am
you
I?
and that sort of thing.
Which again, I never did. I've never once referred to myself as being, even
I
as a
was
kid, I was never like, I'm one of these.
Extremely big on this forever.
A lot of people were. So I've never thought about which order of Knight Radiant I would be. Is it the kind of question that even that now you still would be like, what type of a person am I in this context? Or do you think, like, I don't know, where are you at?
It's
with
like
that sort of
saying
stuff?
in like Magnus Archives, which again, spoilers for Magnus Archives. If you're going to listen to it, skip the next 10 or so seconds. It's like Magnus Archives, which fear would rule you, or would you be an avatar of? So
I'd be an avatar of the fear of windrunners
okay. So
and skybreakers.
I think that we can do this one though without an excessive amount of spoiler.
Sure.
I know that in the quiz that we took so long ago, after we'd read like one book each, I got Truth Watcher. I did not know what that was
You love
at the
watching
time.
Truth.
I do love Truth. It's one of those things. I feel like when it comes to the Windrunners, that's the ones who they can fly. Essentially, that's their biggest power. And a lot of people, and I feel like even characters in the book, sort of begrudge them as saying, oh, look at these jocks.
Oh, they're so cool.
They don't have to think, they just have to whiz around.
Yeah.
And much as I would love to fly, whizzing around would be great. I know myself, and I know that if I had fantasy destiny, I wouldn't be given one of those roles.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I'd be given one of the sit-down thinkies.
Fair enough. I'd enjoy a sit-down thinky. I don't want to be
I
flying
know.
around.
I wouldn't hate it. I just, flying seems fun as well. Flying always seems fun.
Okay, lovely. I think there's a little bit left of this one. What is your dream cast for Lateral? Who would be the best guests on an episode? Again, as someone who doesn't worry too much about competition, I don't want to say who's going to be the best guests on Lateral. Do you want to talk about who could be good on Lateral, who has not been on Lateral, to our knowledge?
I can try. Yeah, we're a little bit behind. Who knows what surprises there have been.
We're also very forgetful, so there may be
That's
people
true.
who've been on and I've been like, of course, I've listened to that one.
I'm not even good at doing dreamcasts for movies and for books.
I never owned a Dreamcast. I was a Nintendo 64 kid.
So, I don't know. I find this very challenging.
I will say there's certain people that we've worked with who I think would be good on
absolutely.
Lateral. I've always thought that like Tommy Honton would be a very good Lateral guest. I think Jay Borson would be a very good Lateral
Definitely.
guest. I think Neil would be good on Lateral. I think he'd have fun.
I agree.
I think Neil Patrick Harris is a Lateral guest. I think he'd very much enjoy it. But I think it's interesting because like there's no one, I think, especially I'm like, I'd really want to see them on Lateral. I really want to hear what they think about Lateral. I think Lateral in general is cast very well. For people who haven't listened to Lateral, it's a show that we are on quite a lot, that Tom Scott hosts, which is basically just like fun lateral thinking
Typically,
questions
for
put
me,
to a group of three.
Lateral works like Taskmaster, where there might be some people, when I hear they're going to be on it, I'll get excited to see what they do. But I'm more interested to find out how the people who are on it think and approach things.
Because I feel like it's really interesting because you're never quite sure how someone's going to go. Some people will be like, yep, I get it.
Absolutely.
Some people will overthink in the wrong ways. Some people underthink in the wrong ways. Some people will just be like, this
Some
is a
people
perfect
will
thought.
stress
just wait.
out if they don't have the answer.
Yeah, some people get really like, oh, this is a game show and I have to win it. You're like, no, don't worry about it. Just chill, just relax. But I think most people who've been on Lateral have been very good and really enjoy it. And I don't know if there's, I don't think there's anyone who I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy to see them on Lateral? But I think most people who, if they've done our show, would do Lateral and enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely.
So every single person
so
on our
much
guest
crossover.
list, all together and at once on an episode of Lateral, would be very. David Desmalchin on an episode of Lateral,
Could work.
Jason Ritter on episode of Lateral.
Perfect.
I think he'd actually have. I think he'd have a lot of fun doing
Of
it.
course they'd have fun.
Everybody
It's a
have fun. It's
show.
a fun show to do. So our dream cast is everybody you've ever seen or heard of. Final question,
Mhm.
and my answer may shock you. Is water wet?
Ah,
No.
you're going with no.
Wait. Maybe I'm going with yes. I take it back. I'm going yes.
Intriguing. I'm gonna also say yes.
Wet just means the presence of water, insofar as you can have a lot of liquids that are dry. Dry cleaning is dry cleaning because it's fully liquid. Everything's submerged in liquids, which to a layman you'd be like, that's wet because it's all covered in liquid, but it's not wet because the liquid isn't water. When you get dry ethanol, it's ethanol that doesn't have water. And if it had a bit of water, it would be wet. And if it was all water, that would be a solution with water in it, which would be wet.
Yeah, I'm saying that an individual molecule of water, maybe not wet, but the molecule right next to it is wet because of the existence of the first molecule.
All right, done.
It's
Water's
touching
wet.
water.
All right. Thank you for those questions. And I believe at the moment that is all the emails done.
For now.
We can move on to some questions that were on our Discord to finish off this episode, and then that will be the focus of next episode.
Yes.
There are a few, Danny, that you found?
Absolutely. So, first one we've got from E. Thank you, E. Would Jack fit on the door?
He would fit on the door, but we've never seen whether that door itself would be buoyant enough to hold two people. It's not just about surface area. It's about whether or not the weight of two people would be more than the buoyancy of the door.
Now, have you seen Titanic?
Yeah.
I have not seen Titanic. I've seen
I
5
don't remember
minutes
it well
of
enough
the
to
end
actually-
where the old lady throws away the
Yeah.
gem, and I thought, I'm not crazy about this. And I've had beef with James Cameron since Avatar.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember it well enough to have an actually informed opinion as to whether or not he would fit on the door, but I'm going to say, you know what? The fact that he didn't fit on the door means he wouldn't fit on the door, right? It's not like,
oh, you're going with the writer rules?
no, I mean, the characters in the scene, clearly, they would have experienced something that made them be like, oh, he definitely can't get on this door. It's not like, oh, it's big enough, he could have just got on. They probably would have tried that if it wasn't obvious that he was going to sink if they were both on the door.
Okay, so let's go into this a little bit deeper. We need some Titanic rule information, some proper information here. How long were the survivors floating?
Hours and hours and hours.
Okay, how long would it take and that sort of thing? It seemed like hypothermia was setting in pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quick.
Because typically they don't, even sitting on the door as she was still getting a bit wet, wasn't she?
Yes.
So that's already not great for her.
Mm-hmm.
Were they both able to do things? You don't need to sit on the door for the door to save your life. You can just both be clinging to it.
He was clinging to the door. And I
Yeah.
think he got too cold and he fell in.
Cool.
I can't remember. I don't have enough knowledge for this question.
So, what hypothermia does, apparently, it makes you a little bit, it messes with your brain a little bit. And a lot of people who get ocean hypothermia throw themselves off into the ocean.
Maybe that's what happened.
And
it wasn't a
it's-
reasonable decision. He could have fit on the door and he just had hypothermia.
It's entirely possible.
Oh, no. Poor Jack.
Yeah, the alternative would, let's say that they were
I
both.
am Jack's hypothermia.
Let's say they both cling to it. They found a way where they could both sort of cling to it and were sort of up and down submerged. This is Kate Winslet in the 90s. She was extraordinarily petite. She would have succumbed to the hypothermia first.
Exactly.
Of the two of them. So there is a potential chance that we could sacrifice Rose, that's her character's name, for
Leo?
Jack?
Leo
if we so
DiCaprio.
chose, if you happen to prefer him as a human being. But who knows? But I'm under the impression that, based on what we've seen of the door, its buoyancy level wouldn't have been good enough to keep both of them safe unless rescue ships were imminent.
Here's my pitch.
Mhm.
Oh, here's my point to make. I think you just got to allow yourself to be sad. I think all the people asking about the whole door thing is because they're getting caught up in the sadness of the moment, and so they've decided to take refuge in logical inconsistency because they don't want to feel sad, and it's too sad.
I
to sing.
disagree.
And they're going,
You know
wait.
what? I would argue the exact opposite.
All right, please do. I don't have a really solid argument. I'm just saying words.
I would argue that people want to feel the emotional pull of him dying, but the inevitability of it under the circumstances is going to be more wrenching. But looking at him saying, I don't know if this was necessary, is going to pull you way out of that.
You know what it's a little bit like to me? I've decided. It's a little bit like, well, if I were Orpheus, I simply wouldn't turn around. It's that kind of a thing. Well, actually, maybe there is no tragic. Can't believe this tragic story happened. I merely would just not be tragic.
It would be.
I just let Jack lie on the door.
No, what's a good example that I've got?
None. Next question, please,
there
Danny.
There are several examples where we've had that in various media where it is. You know what I mean? Why can't I think of
you
good
know what
examples?
it is, Danny? It's the scene. It's a scene where the henchman in. Sorry, I've just got a dog and he's running all over me. It's that scene where the henchman doesn't move out of the way of the steamroller. You can't be sad that the henchman's dead because he could have just moved. You could have just taken a step to the left, dummy. We can't be mourning your death.
You know what?
You should have just signed.
It's the end of Fallout 3.
It's the end of Fallout 3, where they're like, here's the choice you have to make. You're like, why don't we just make a better... There's a better choice.
You have literally given me a companion who can survive this, and he's saying, no, it's the destiny that I don't do this.
You should probably do the thing.
And it ruins any sacrifice that you have made.
Yeah. If the sacrifice seems silly, it doesn't have the emotional weight. You
can't feel emotional weight.
So there you go. Mm-hmm. Danny, what's the next question?
Okay. We now are going with D. 2 questions, and I think these are going to be the last 2 for this one.
Sure.
First one, definitely much more for you. Favorite Discworld sub-series?
Guards, next.
You got to tell me more.
No, so actually that's not even true necessarily. It's an interesting thing with Discworld. So people who haven't read Discworld, you might not enjoy it. Some people don't.
Sub-series to me?
Yes. So the Discworld books are all by Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, I know that part.
And they go off 1, 2, 3. There's a whole series of the books in published order. But each book is its own standalone story.
That's what I thought.
But they each will jump onto different sets of characters. So the first 2 books are Rincewind books. They're all about Rincewind the wizard and the wizard thing. And then like you get to the Weird Sisters, the Witches books, which are all about I'm going to be so bad at remembering, like Granny Og and the other the witches.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like Guards, which jumps to a whole new set of characters. And I think those are the first 4. I think it's like Rincewind, Witches, and then the Guards, the Sam Vimes books. And then it's like, what's the next book going to be? Why don't we do this one? Let's revisit Rincewind. What's the next one? Oh, why don't we revisit the Guards again? Oh, next one. So in this long series of, however many books, it will be like books 4, 5, 10, 13, this is arbitrary numbers, they're all these characters.
Yep, sure.
So there are sort of sub-series that exist of these types of characters that he revisits.
And your first instinct is that you like the Guards. Now, you definitely had that as a kid.
Yeah. I think the Sam Vimes books that focus on the Guards are all really good. They're all very fun. It's a good set of characters. They have these nice ensemble cast of people. They often are the ones where when people have like Terry Pratchett quotes that are very like, look at this poignant quote for the real world and how bad society is, in a silly little fantasy novel. I feel like they often come from this Sam Vimes world. The Boots theory of inequality and all this various stuff that you see very memed out of the Discworld books. The Witches books are also really good. Those are really lovely characters. I think on a reread, I'd probably prefer them to the Guards ones. I haven't read Discworld for a long time. I read a lot as a kid, but I haven't read it for a long time. But that's sort of the whole thing. And there's probably others that the Rincewind ones sort of just turned into just like the Magic University ones where there's the orangutan librarian and all that other stuff that people enjoy. So there's these sort of existent sub-series. And then there's a bunch that are standalone. Actually, the other one that is a sneaky sub-series are the ones that are Death, where he's a main character.
I'm aware of
and
that.
And what are the other ones?
What's the only one I know?
Reaper of Men, Souls, whatever they are. Those ones, they're also quite enjoyable, but they're all quite fun. And again, you don't have to pick teams. You don't have to be a Hufflepuff. You don't have to be a Windrunner. You don't have to be a Vimes fan. You can just enjoy it all. You don't have to choose.
Alternatively, you can be like me, and I have not fully read any Terry Pratchett. I believe I have tried twice to read Discworld, and I've never gotten very far. One of them was Mort, and I legit could not keep reading that because it was too deathy for me, and death freaks me out.
That's fair.
And the other one was, I think it was a witch's one. I remember nothing about it. I want to say
Thief
someone
of
who was
Time. Thief of Time is the other one.
young.
The
Okay.
death one.
I want to say the witch one that I read was like someone who was young and witchy, apprenticey in some
That's
way.
I think the latest stuff. You get in like the We Free Men sort of
I'm not sure.
era.
But
Maybe I'm
my
wrong.
big thing, and
Maybe
I
I'm
know that
wrong.
I know that this is one of my controversial opinions. I'm not going to say I don't like Terry Pratchett, but more than anything else, typically, I don't do well with funny books.
No, you've never really enjoyed a comedy novel.
I don't like Douglas Adams' books
Yeah.
so much. So many, like even Sean McAuliffe has books. I haven't gone crazy about that. John Schwartzwelder.
Yeah.
Funny books there, and I've read them, and they just don't click for me. And I'm not sure what it is about the translation. I feel like I read something recently that made me actually laugh, but I don't even think it was a book. It was just, I don't know, it was
Probably
probably...
had some Ben Elton books, which
They weren't funny. They were just
they're just books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't... Yeah.
it is true. You've never really.
I know that he's a comedy writer, but those books aren't comedies.
Yeah,
No, apparently funny in book rarely translates to me.
fair enough.
I would like to read some Wodehouse because I read one essay of Wodehouse's and I thought it was funny.
You should read
But
some.
then maybe his
Jeeves and Lister.
narratives I wouldn't.
Well, find out, and then we'll ask you who's your favorite. What are your favorite Wodehouse series is? Are you a Jeeves and Wooster head or a anything else that P.G. Wodehouse wrote?
Yeah, that.
All right. So I think are we done then for the? Or is there more? There was another question.
Yes, there is one
Final
more
question for the
still
episode.
from
Here we
Dee.
go.
Okay. If you could order delivery off a magic menu and it would produce any meal you wanted, what would you pick? So this is the off. What would we say on off menu? Essentially, the podcast
What's
off
a
menu.
meal? What's a meal that you would order and have it appear and just be like, what a delicious meal? I don't know. I don't know.
For me, I have a lot of trouble with this because I am very day by day dependent with food. I don't like many foods and I am very mood based with my foods. When I
mood?
get a food in my head, if a food pops into my head and it is what I want in that moment, it will be all I can think about. It will consume me. So any day that you ask me, you'll get a different answer for this. Right now, I haven't had dinner yet, and we're just about to, which means I want something savory. And I think the thing that I'm being pulled towards is assuming that you can make a perfect vegetarian replica that would taste exactly like the real thing, but just not be animal product. A really garlic buttery chicken Kiev right now.
Oh, interesting.
That's what my face wants.
How funny. I think I always want some kind of noodle dish. That's it. I don't know what it would be. It changes day by day, but you'd be like, give me a pad ki mao, get me a yakisoba, get me anything. Get me some kind of fried noodly dish. It'll be enjoyable every time. But I don't know. In general, I don't think there's something.
It's even worse if I'm asked to pick between desserts. I will want a full bowl of every type of dessert because I will have 3 mouthfuls of one and then be over that and want the next type. All different textures, all different temperatures, everything.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry for a bad final question. I don't know. Food's nice. Just eat whatever. I just eat something nice. I just have something nice.
You got a definitive answer out of me though.
I'd have a.
Haven't entirely let you down.
I'd have a spaghetti dish. What type? I'll never say. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for all the questions.
There are still many more questions to come.
We barely scratched the surface of what was on the Discord. So, next episode, there'll be way more questions. I hope you're enjoying this break. If you're not, hey, this is bonus content.
Come back in a couple of weeks.
Come back when the episodes start again in August. At the start, maybe the very end of July. I can't remember how the dates swap over in terms of Wednesdays and things like that. But wait till then. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week with more AMA. Bye.